Yeah. I'm gonna try to do it this weekend. I told my daughter, well, I told both my kids that that pack that I had yesterday is gonna be my last pack. Elizabeth sent me a YouTube video about quitting smoking, and that kind of broke my heart a bit. It's something I never thought I would do.
I don't have my cigarettes this weekend. Yeah, so yeah.
Hey, Dr. Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still here.
You are still here.
So about 11:30 or so.
Oh, they're gonna let you finish up group today, you know.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Not.
He's been really good. Thanks.
Well, how you doing?
Wonderful. Well, I'm kind of sad.
Anything?
I'm kind of sad.
Kind of sad? Did you see how that happened? Wonderful! Promotion, you're just going everywhere. Why are you kind of sad? Because he's leaving?
You don't know what's been so much.
I'll know the broker.
That's so sweet.
I know, yeah, I'm kind of that way. That'll go up over about good.
I can assure you it's not going to be the last time you see it.
We can do cartwheels down the hallway.
You gotta pretend now, yeah.
And I had the
We're trying to get together. You know, it goes 14 weeks.
And we're trying to.
Back there. He's outside.
Trying to get, thinking about trying to get that lady call.
I don't know about all that.
She's so busy. We weren't talking to you, man. We're talking about you.
Yeah.
We talked to you.
I don't like when he talks to me how I talk to people.
One of us, if we talked to you, one of us would have called your name. You know.
Both of y'all's accent. Got one missed guy, one of them out there.
Wait. Oh, my God.
I used to go to Biloxi all the time.
I'm actually looking for someone to do some of the presentation.
And I think she would do well with that.
She presents here. 1 minute to group.
So, besides, he's the only one missing. It's everybody. Mr. Jackson, and then the other we have yeah, he's gone. Bill's gone.
Bill is gone.
Not gone. No. He went with Byron this morning. I think
There's Robert. Yeah, I saw him getting on the bus. All right, so it is time for us to start our group. Couple of things we need to have when we come to group. First thing we need to have is what? Well, that's one of the things. First thing we need to have is ourselves. We need to be here. Although sweeping the front out there is very, very important. That's very important because when people come up out there, it's the first thing they see. So, we want to make a good impression, right? But when they do come up out there, we have to tell them, you're in the wrong place.
right.
Go around to the back. Yes, and the second thing is we've got to bring our books to group. So everybody's got their book in group. We have sign-in sheets going around, I'm assuming. And we need to make sure that we sign on that thing legibly so people like myself can read it. Sometimes I have issues and stuff with all of that, so be doing that for me if you don't mind. We also need to be thinking about a goal for the group. Goal for the group today. What's the goal for the group? We're going to be talking about today focusing. Yes, sir.
Mine this morning was integrity.
I can't hear you way back there.
Mine this morning was integrity.
Oh, okay. That's a good goal for the group. The other goal for the group this morning should be something about learning where my focus is going to be. Sometimes I need to change my focus, right? I got up this morning and my focus was on breakfast. And so I went to McDonald's and I bought myself a one, what's that called? Egg tortilla. Yeah, just one. They have them on the thing two, and they'll sell you two, but if you just ask for one, they'll sell you one. And it's like $1.70. And so I put that thing, I said, well, that's going to be my lunch. And that's exactly what it was. So I ate my lunch at 7:30 this morning. Because the more I thought about it laying there on the seat, the more I couldn't deal with it. But I had to end its life, So what's our focus this morning?
Focus.
Yeah. Here's the deal. It's very, very, very easy for me to get defocused. It's very easy for my focus to move from where it's supposed to be to somewhere else. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. But look, I'm full grown. I'm going to be, in November, I'm going to be 72 years old. I do know that this group is not going to change everybody's mind and their values, and they're not going to change all of that kind of stuff. But that's not my purpose or my point. My purpose and my point is to get you to the place where you're looking at it. Full-grown man and a full-grown woman with the right amount of intelligence, which both groups have. I've seen everybody in here, and there's no dummies in either group. We're going to know this is what I ought to do. And somewhere in the back of my mind, when I'm doing something I shouldn't do, that'll come to the forefront. Maybe I'm not at a good focus. I don't know where the sign-in sheet, I saw it up here somewhere. All right. So we're going to look at that just a little bit this morning. I want to share a couple of things with you that come across my desk. I want to just do that quickly, and it's just a blanket thing. I don't want anybody to feel singled out or anything like that, because y'all know that if I need to single you out, I will. So I don't want anybody to feel singled out, because I'm not singling anybody out. I'm just speaking to everybody. But this is still week, the family week. And today, sometimes around noon or maybe a little bit before that, maybe 11 o'clock or something like that, Mr. Nick here is going to leave us. Y'all don't let him, if he's still in group, don't let him disrupt the group. If he's leaving, he's gone. We don't have to be nice to him anymore, right? That's not true. We're going to miss him in here. He's been pretty good in the group and all of that kind of stuff. I guess before he leaves, they're going to rock him out of here. I don't know. We'll see. I think, it's okay. I think it's a good idea to rock him out. But I think we ought to go get some bigger rocks. Because those little pebbles they give, that ain't going to be it. He's going to have a rock. So on the last day of Family Day, and let me share this with you, there is never a last day for Family Week, right? Family goes all through all of the stuff that we're doing. Done. So here's the last one. This is where we want to get to. No matter where we are right now, and I am not at this place with my family. I've already shared that. I am not at this place with my family. I hope to get at this place with my family. I'm still working on that. And I probably, the rest of my life, I'm going to be working on my family. I have some grandchildren that are not where I want my grandchildren to be, right? And I'm supposed to go visit with them this weekend. But I got up this morning to the news that my clothes dryer has died. So I'm going to have to fix it. I'm going to try my level best to resurrect that thing tomorrow. I'm going to tear it all down, and I'm going to do things, and I'm going to fix it. I already got my hammer out, so, the mainest tool. So I'm going to fix it. I'm going to go home and find my screwdriver, and my screwdriver and my hammer. We're going to fix that thing. Yeah, I fixed it. I fix stuff at my house. Yes, sir.
What you say was wrong with the dryer?
Yeah, my dryer. When you push the button on it, it says no. we ain't doing that. I've gone through all that. I did a diagnostic on it, and the door is well, and the inside there's two little things inside that you get to check, and all of that. I've done everything. I've checked everything you can check without. It's one of those duets, so it's sitting on top of another one in our laundry room. So I have to pull it out, set it in the floor, and take the top off of it, and then take the back off of it. All the rest of that stuff's a little bit more of a chore to check.
The hammer works great.
Yes. That's what I'm going to start with. So here, so perhaps I won't be able to go see the grandkids, at least until after I do that. So here's the last one. This is where I'm striving for. You have established relationships that exemplify reciprocal loyalty and honesty. So what does reciprocal mean?
Both parties, both ways.
Yeah, if I have a reciprocal relationship with you, that means I like you and you like me back. Remember the 7th grade when we would send that note? Do you like me? I like you. If you like me, check the box. Yeah. I always got those things back crumpled up. Yeah. Chunked across the room. Stuff like that. But that's what reciprocal means. My family loves me and supports me and is honest with me, and I love my family and I support my family and I'm honest with them, right? That's reciprocal. It says, look, loyalty and honesty in which you and the other party, family, are generally and mostly interested in actions that are mutual beneficial. That's a whole bunch, that's a long sentence there, but what that means is I don't want to do anything that's not going to benefit you. If I'm going to do something today, and I know that if I do that, it's going to hurt my wife, guess what I'm going to do? Not that. I'm not going to do that. If I know that's going to hurt my kids, I'm not going to do that. So what does that do? It makes me get to a place where I'm going to be a better role model. Because my drinking, my using, my smoking, all of that stuff is hurting my kids because I'm their role model. I'm not going to do that stuff in front of them. So, the last part of this says missteps and conflicts or rare and evolve from genuinely unintentional conduct or actions. So here's the deal. You know, I've got all of these good intentions. I want to do all of the right things all of the time. I want to do the next right thing every time. But are you still going to make a mistake every now and then? Are you still going to screw up every now and then? Are you still going to make a faux pas every now and then? Of course you are. Of course you are. But we're not going to do that as a matter of course every morning. So my family's going to be a family. When it comes down to where I want it, my family's going to be a healthy relationship for me. That's what I'm looking for. Now, really quickly before we get started, we're going to be looking at our homework for last night. If y'all have it, I have given you some more homework. Isn't that fun? Isn't homework fun? Don't y'all like that? It's like you're back in school. Don't you like that? So the other homework that you have for now that's on the table, that's for how to focus, and that's going to be due on Monday. And we're going to go over this pretty quickly. And this is one that was given to me over here, and we're gonna take a look at this one. But you know, there are things that go across my desk, and I just want to share this with you. Like I said, this is a blanket thing, not pointing anybody out. But people get written up in here, right? Why do we get written up? At North, why do we get written up? What is it? Breaking the rules.
Not focused on your task.
Not focused on your task, what you're supposed to be doing. That was really, really good. Like that. Inappropriate behavior. So if we have something that somebody has deemed as inappropriate behavior, what should we do? Change your behavior. Okay, yeah, that'll work. Avoid your behavior. How many people know? And I know you know, I use that term way too much. And this is for North over there because I have an office over there and I'm over there sometimes. My door's always open, right? If you have a grievance, if you have an issue, if you're just not feeling good that day, if you want to lay down, if you want the counselors to start massaging your feet, whatever is, I'll take that. Whatever it is, look, my door is open to any of that stuff. And here's the deal. That means my door is open for you to open it. You open it and you come in, right? You just come in, walk in and say, hey, I got to talk to you about something. It is much better when you open the door. There are other times when I'm going to open the door. So if we get these things, how many of these you think I want from both facilities?
Say it again.
How many of these write-ups do you think I really want to see every day when I come in? How many do I want to see?
How many have you given up? 0.
How many have I given out? I don't usually do a whole lot of them. The other staff do that. But how many do I want to see?
0.
Yeah, I don't want to see any of this. If we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as full-grown people in both facilities, we won't have all this paper in our life. I don't want to see that. I had to go to that. I was in Miss Arlene's office this morning because of a couple of little things. No big deal. Nothing really. But it wound up on paper. So if it winds up on paper, it winds up on my desk. So we want to completely stop that. We don't want any of this. There's not a requirement that the RAs write these. The only way that they get done is if we do something we shouldn't do. And so if we do something we shouldn't do, it's going to come to my desk, and then I'm going to open my door. Right? So if you've done your homework over at North, I want you to turn all of that in. We're going to take a look at that, and it's going to be put in your file. We're going to put it in a manila file and keep it there just for you. Same thing over here. If you've completed your homework, we need you to turn it in. This homework was given to me by an individual this morning because he is with his counselor, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you. This and then on Monday, okay, yeah, just put them and put them, send them all up front, and we'll pick them up here in a minute. Now, all of these probably are different. All of these probably and should be different. They all have to kind of be, because I just kind of really quickly went over it, and then y'all went boom, 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 boom. Okay, so this is what this individual came up with, and we're not gonna call his name or anything. It says responsibility. It said, okay, responsibility. I've learned to hold myself responsible for ruining my own life. That's a good statement, isn't it? That's where we're getting out of the victim stance. Yeah, okay, this isn't exactly where I want to be on this big weekend. You know, we're going to have a 3-day weekend. I don't have to come to work on Monday. I told my boss, man, I'd really like to, because, I just don't have anything to do on Monday. And I don't, but she said, no, I don't want you out here. So, okay, I'm not coming to work on Monday. So, and if I wasn't here with you guys this morning, I could be off somewhere else for a really long weekend, right? Having a good time in my retirement, all that stuff, So he said, look, I've learned that I'm here out of my own volition. I did this to me. That's a really important place for us to get to. Because here's the deal. One of the first things that I have to do when I get into recovery, if I'm going to get into recovery at all, is get honest. Right? So I need to be raw and honest with who? Me first. And then who else?
Everyone else.
Everybody. Everybody. I need to be honest with everybody. Everybody. That's why I told y'all, look, I self-disclose all the time. We talked a little bit about this yesterday in one of our meetings. If a counselor self-discloses to you, that's okay. And they can self-disclose on any level they want to, as long as it's not inappropriate. I self-disclose all the time. Just those two things. There's a lot of things about my life I'm not going to tell you, but I'm a Christian and I'm in recovery. Those two things I'm going to do. And I had to get honest with me, and I had to get honest with my family, and I had to get honest with my God, and I had to get honest with society, everybody, right? So he said, look, I put myself here, said I messed up my own life by allowing myself to be a victim of my own addiction. That's true. You know what else I see people being a victim of? All over, everywhere I go, I see people being a victim of their own emotions. When somebody says, I can't control my anger, that's what that person is. They're a victim of their own emotion. And that's not going to work out well for you. That's not, because I'm going to tell you, when you get angry, you get emotional, you're going to do stuff and say stuff and act ways that you should not. And when you do that, then that opens the door for somebody else to come in and help you with that. Right? So I see a lot of people that are victims. Because, I do an anger group and all of that kind of stuff, and those guys come in, and when I explain to them, you're the victim. No, I'm the one slapped my wife. Yeah, but you're the victim. Yeah. You're a low down, no count, no good to nothing, lower than a snake's belly and a wagon rut piece of slime victim, but you're the victim. Yeah, you didn't know that. You're a victim of your own emotions. And here's the deal, I've got a son-in-law. I've got a beautiful daughter. She's been married to this guy, I don't know, a bunch of years and all of that stuff. The day before the boy's wedding, I let him know, my daughter is no victim. You were no victim either. So if you begin to get angry and stuff, you need to find somebody else that you need to slap. Because if you ever slap, if you ever strike, if you ever anything, my daughter, be some slow walking, sad talking. We're not going to do that. But lots of people are victims of their own emotions. I can't help. Yes, you can. You're the one who's in control of your emotions, so control them. What's going to happen if you don't control them? I'm going to control them. So he said, in trouble. He's had some trouble in his life. And, told us about it the other day. I'm responsible. Am I responsible for my own troubles? Absolutely. Somebody, if one of the RAs writes us up, something like that, am I responsible for that? Yeah, they don't just do that because they want to do that. And believe me, I've talked to a whole bunch of them. I know some of them pretty well, and they have enough to do without having to deal with your silliness. So we're responsible for that. Said I'm responsible for somebody stealing my car because if I didn't go to the it says trap house, I'd still have my vehicle now. Yeah. If I put myself in a place where I know it's going to be problematic for me, whatever happens there is not is my fault. Not society's fault. It's not somebody else's fault. It ain't my mama's fault. Said here, and I'm a victim. If you're a victim this morning, let me tell you this. Now, y'all look, I'm not yelling at anybody. I'm reading what this guy said about himself. Okay? I know it sounds like it, but he's hard on himself, right? He did. He got hard. And that's good. We need to. He said, I've allowed myself to become a victim. I've allowed myself to be a victim of my own mind, of my heart, my desires, my wants, my feelings. All of those kind, my wants and desires, and I'm a victim of all of that stuff. And I allow that stuff to pull me away from where I'm supposed to be going. I allow that stuff to get me out of my recovery. He said, here's the key. The key to the way out of my own self-infliction is to control my own feelings, which are the root of my problems. Remember that guy said a long time ago, y'all remember, we talked about him, I'm sure y'all remember, Mr. Epictetus? Epictetus. You remember Mr. Epictetus? Mr. Epictetus, he was way back yonder, he was a philosopher, and Mr. Epictetus said this. He said, it is not what happens to a man that affects him. It is how he feels about it. How I feel about it. My belief system. My belief system. How I believe about it. How I feel about whatever somebody said. It's not what happens to me. Somebody comes up and says something nasty to me. That's not what hurts me. That's not what bothers me. It's how I feel about that. So if it doesn't make, look, here's one of the things I learned a long time ago. What Darnell thinks about me, that ain't none of my business. He can think anything he wants to about me, right? He can. He can think anything, and I've seen the way he looks at me sometimes. I can kind of feel like, I can figure out something, but it doesn't matter how. But here's the antithesis of that is that I can think anything I want to about Mr. Van Til, right? Anything I want to, and it's just not your business, right? So if you can think anything you want to about me, and it's not my business, so what you think about me shouldn't be able to get me in my feelings. Is that true? Yes. Because it just don't matter. It's your business. So he says this. He said, look, acceptance. I've learned to accept that I've self-inflicted and self-destructed my own life and the alienation that has happened with my family. It's a big deal. And he's accepted that. Nobody else, the family didn't do it, society didn't do it, I did it. I'm the one who alienated my family. What does that do? That puts the onus on us to de-alienate our family. That's why the big book says, go make amends, y'all. Right? All right. And he says, I have to stop self-hate. I'm learning to stop hating myself for not getting to say goodbye. That's an emotional thing. I'm responsible for not taking my vacation to see people, to say the things that I needed to say. That's why we're going on vacation in October. We're taking a look at all of that, and that stuff's it's gonna be a hard trip. But we're gonna go, and we want to go see. We've got people over in Alabama that we haven't seen in a couple of years, and we want to go see them because they're getting older. Y'all know what happens to older people? Yeah, they suffer from croakification. That's kind of, when you get to 80, 90 years old, that's kind of your job, to just die. Yeah. So we're gonna go make sure that doesn't happen. We don't want them to go away before we get there. Now they got one here that I'm not sure about. But self-awareness, I'm personally responsible for myself choosing to not be aware of being a victim. That's a real good point. Think about that. I'm getting into my victimhood, but I'm in denial about being in a victim stance so that thing can get me anytime. Because I think that, hey, I am, this is the right thing for me to do. But what happens, what's really going on, is I'm in a victim stance and I'm doing stuff that's stupid because I feel like, poor me, another drink. I'm in a victim stance. And so, this individual recognizes that in himself. And that's a big, big deal. I'm excited about this. Homework. Did well. So I know that some of the homework is going to be up here, some of the homework is down here, and I've already seen people in this group say, what's he talking about? I don't remember that. Homework? I don't remember that. So if you don't have it, don't worry about it. We're just going to write you up for noncompliance. And you'll have to come to the office and all of that. But take up all of the homework over there at North, put it in the box with my sign-in sheets when you get those done. So if we've got all the homework, we're going to put it up here on this thing. And thank you. Look, thank you for participating. I tell you what, you guys over here are participating on a much higher level. And I really appreciate that. Because I will tell you, let me share this with you, and this goes for North as well. Y'all may not realize this, but it's true. The level that you participate in this little short group that we do every morning shows the level that you're going to participate in the whole program. And the level that you participate in the whole program shows the level that you are willing to participate in your recovery. That's why group is important. That's why we're serious about our group. Because we're serious about the program and we're serious about your recovery. Now we have a thing on the board up here that Mr. Rembrandt, if he was around today, he would be jealous of this up here. So what is this? This is a guy. His tongue is hanging out like a red necktie over him, and his eyeballs are bulged out like 3 miles. What does that mean? Say it again? He's focusing.
He's lusting
right.
after something.
He's what?
He's lusting after something.
He's lusting after something. Okay, yeah, he is. He's lusting after all of that. So what does that say? If you're looking at the thing over here, what is this? That's a TV set. You can tell because it says TV up over it, right? And then it's got all of these little things in there. What's that? That's a car. Whatever car I always wanted a Jaguar. Always wanted a Jaguar. Told my wife, got to have a Jaguar. It says, it's just I ought to have a Jaguar. So one time, one year, she said, okay, we're going to go and get you a Jaguar. So we went down to the Jaguar place. Y'all know Jaguars are expensive. We were looking at the Jaguars and all of that kind of stuff. And she said, well, if you want the Jaguar, there it is. You can get it. So I went over and put my hand on that Jaguar, and I swear, God said you can have it if you want it, but it's not the best. Not my plan. That's your plan, but you can have it if you want to. What I do. No, I didn't get. I went at that time. I said, "Well, we're gonna let that go," and I went and bought myself a used Ford 500 and drove that thing till it had 450,000 miles on it, and it, that's stupid. And then the transmission out. That stupid Jaguar would have probably fallen apart. What's that? It says drink. Yeah, just Coca-Colas, whatever it is. Something to drink, some chocolate milk, whatever it is, and that's a bowl of what?
Gumbo.
Gumbo, the man said. It's a bowl of gumbo, a bowl of something. It's just food. This is just, what's on this side of this guy is just stuff. It's just stuff. What if, look, if the football game comes on, what if I don't get to watch it? I've never understood. I don't have a problem with football. I used to go to football game once a month, maybe sometimes more than that, when my grandson was playing football. When he was 12, he's playing football. I'm out there, Grandpa's going, kill him, kill them, and he was going out there trying to do just that. His mom's a nurse. He was out there and he sprained his ankle, and his mom and his aunts, both nurses, and he come hobbling in. They bandaged him up. The boy hobbled back out there. He couldn't stay. And the coach sent him back in. He was devastated. That's football. Millionaires in tights running around slapping each other on the hindies. I ain't all that into that. When they went out on strike because they wasn't making enough money. Last year, I worked my fingers to the bone, and all they paid me is $122 million. That just ain't right. So I'm thinking, okay, I don't need you guys. So I haven't watched football since then. But if I don't look, and I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm still healthy. I have still lived. I'm all right. So if I miss something that I want, and see, if I miss, my wife likes NCIS and all of that stuff. I don't watch much television. But if she misses that, she's going to die. No. Well, and y'all know when you go buy a car, what do you look for?
The liability.
The liability? Yeah. I was looking at Cadillacs, the insurance on that.
Right.
Yeah. Boss rider, he can do that because, he makes a little more than I do. But, Cadillac way up here. I don't do it. You know what? If it'll start and run and drive and stop, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I don't care what color it is. I don't care what brand it is. My wife's a Ford girl with a red. She got a red Ford truck. That's all she'll drive. It has to be red. It has to be a Ford. It has to be a truck. That's all she'll drive. That's it. I don't care. No. And it has to be a Lariat because they got leather seats. Okay? I don't care what it is. Well, I would prefer to have an American-made car. But other than that, I drive Fords and Chevys, and this thing I got out here is a Mercury Sable. I love it. But it's 16 years old. That's what I do. So, so it doesn't make any difference. If I don't get exactly what I want to eat today, they're going to destroy my life. I told y'all the story. My wife told me I was going home. She said, I'm going to have some pork chops when we get home. I said, that's great. You know how your mouth gets ready for pork chops? And your tongue's off, your taste buds are going, pork chop, pork chop, pork chop. And you're getting ready for the pork chops and all of that kind of stuff. And when I showed up at the house, I went and I smelled something smelled good. It don't smell like pork chop, but it smelled good. So I went in the kitchen and I said, honey, how you doing? What you doing? She said, I decided to make spaghetti. Now look, here's the deal. Can you eat spaghetti and survive? Are you going to be a little disappointed if you wanted pork chops and you've been thinking about pork chops all day long? All of a sudden there ain't no pork chop? Yeah, you feel, hey, where's the pork chop? Now I will tell you this, my wife doesn't cook much anymore, but when she used to cook spaghetti, that's some good stuff. That's wonderful stuff because, she works over the pot and everything like that. And she makes those little round meatballs and all of that stuff, and then she'll sweat in the pot and all of that stuff and get that. That's called getting the love in the. Anyway, she don't do that. But It's good, but it wasn't that. So sometimes what we eat's going to be disappointing, but is it going to take my life? Can it take my recovery? We get stupid over it, can. We had a guy in here that did just that. Walked out of here. Oh, it's the food. Well, go live under the bridge, you know, and get some food there. So, oh no, I'm sorry. My wife just alerted me to just a great big old thing that's just probably earth shattering. No, she ain't never gonna make me no more pork chop. Today is my oldest son's birthday. I was kind of thinking about that on the way in, you know. So today he's gonna be something. He'll be a year older than he was last year. Yeah. So here's the point. We focus on this a lot of the time, don't we? We focus on all of this mundane, asinine, don't mean anything in the world, don't mean a thing, and that can be dangerous to my recovery. I don't like the way that boy looked at me. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy man. All of that stuff is crazy man. We need to get beyond that. So what should we focus on? Look, here's another thing. What is this over here in this corner? Come on, that it's look. It looks just like it. What is it?
Fishing pole.
It is a fishing pole, and this is a creek that they're fishing in. Sometimes that's recreation. That represents recreation. Sometimes recreating it. You know, that's like our God, man. We're going to go do that. I had a lady tell me this yesterday. I'm not going to tell y'all who she is, but she's my boss. But I don't want y'all to know who she is. But she said she loved going down to our beach. Y'all been down to the Texas beach line here? Yeah. Yeah. Ain't nothing down there to get too excited about. I mean, all this brown water running around and all this flesh-eating disease in there, you know. 10 people go out into the water and 3 come back because 7 of them was eaten by a flesh-eating disease. So it's not that great a thing, but, you know, some people are focusing on things to do. This weekend's going to be a big thing for things to do, right? Yeah. Y'all know, I already told y'all, what am I going to be doing this weekend?
Fixing the water.
Working on my dryer. Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I ought to be. This is what this guy is focused on. Yes, sir.
Oh, I thought you were going to be there with the hammer and follow mission. Like that.
Oh, you know that thing we've had it for a long time. That thing has broken a belt, and I replaced the belt on it, and it's working well. And then something else went wrong with it, and I pulled it down and did that. The door had done something, so I fixed all of that. My son closed it one time, and the glass that's in the door is actually plastic, fell out and broke. So I didn't tape it. I glued it all back together, and it works. It's great, you know. You can see where I did that, but you know it's still workable. So that's what I like. I enjoy doing it. It's a challenge. I'm gonna fix that thing now. My wife has put back enough money. I can go just buy another one, but I don't want to do that. I want to spend $20 and it fit, and then I feel real good about it. That's one of the things I do that pulls me away from being focused. Yes, sir.
And all you got to do is explain to her, honey. Saving this money. I don't have to put this through a drive-through. Those sorts of the field.
Yeah. See, that's a little. See, that's a little. That's not a little devious. That's devious. You know. So that's what I want to do. What does he focus on? Oh, can y'all read that from there? What's he focused on? Freedom. First thing he's focused on is freedom. Let me tell you something about freedom. Freedom is not going. I'm not going to jail. I'm not going to prison. You know. And I've read the book. Free on the inside. That ain't free. If when you in prison, you ain't free. You know you cannot move and go and do, and you know you can't do some of the things you want to do. Right? That's it. In here, are you free? You're freer in here than you are in prison, but you're not free. You know, you're not living totally in freedom right now. because we still have these addictions, we still have these issues, all of that kind of stuff. So we need to be looking at not only being not in prison, but also not being in treatment. And I've made the statement probably 15, 20 times, and I mean it. This is one of the best facilities I've ever worked in. I've worked in a bunch. I've worked for Center Corps. I've worked for Best Group. I've worked for the prison system. This is one of the best ones I've ever worked in.
You worked at a prison before?
Yes, 16 and no. I was director of the program for counseling.
What prison were you working at?
I was at the LeBlanc prison, LeBlanc, for 13 and a half years. Then I moved from that one when I went. Yes, when I got out and went back to the prison system, I went to the GIST unit, which is right next.
The GIST unit is only like 35 and up, huh?
Yeah, it's not many people there. But it's now it's a treatment facility. LeBlanc is no longer a treatment facility. It's a transfer.
How much time you got to stay in LeBlanc?
How long? How many?
How many you staying there?
I don't know. LeBlanc's a transfer unit now, so you don't usually stay there very long. Go in and then you get out.
My homeboy, he had done 7 years. I was locked up with him in TDC. And I got out, and I went to county like the same month that I got in jail. I went to county, and then I seen some other guy that had done 10 years. And then he started talking to me, and then we started talking about the same guy. I'm like, how you know Polo? He's like, man, I just met this one Mexican in the blonde unit from Mechuco. I'm like, what you mean you met him? I was like, I was just locked up with him. He started telling me all the tattoos he had on his back. He's like, yeah, he just got caught with like 10 bricks of coke. And he got 25 years after 7, like 1 minute.
If I go back to work out there, which I'm not, I would. LeBlanc unit's a nice place. It's a good place for a counselor. You know, it was set up and built to be a treatment facility. I didn't quit. I retired.
And you came here?
No, I retired and I went out to a whole bunch of other different places. And I finally wound up here. They called me here out of my retirement. I sat in my house, my feet up, and they said, "Come out here." I said, "All right." They said, "We'll give you this. Look, every 2 weeks they pay me, and they had to go down and buy a new wheelbarrow to push all the money they're paying me to the bank." So freedom is what he's looking at, and he's looking at the second thing. What's the second thing? Recovery. That's where you're going to get the freedom. That's where freedom comes from. If I'm in my recovery, I'm not going to do anything for the police to come get me. If I'm in my recovery, I'm not going to be in here. You know, a recovery lifestyle doesn't bring me back to here. This is what gets me into a beginning of a recovery lifestyle. And then as I stay in a recovery lifestyle, I'm not coming back over here. Right? So that's one of the reasons we don't want to have any more of these write-ups and stuff like that, because I'm learning to deal with who? Me. You don't have to deal with Miss Cynthia. She deals with herself. You have to deal with you. You have to deal with you. And so when we begin dealing with ourselves, then we can get into some real recovery. And that's what he is, like you said, lusting after. He's lusting after some real recovery. When he gets into that real recovery, what's the next thing he's going to be able to get? I pray every morning for 3 or 4 different things. I talk to God every day, coming here and going home. And I ask him, and I thank him for salvation. Look, I'm going to heaven when this is all over with. I remember that old country song. You know, I don't know. I may not go to heaven. I don't know if they let cowboys in. But if they don't, then send me to Texas. Because Texas is as close as I've been. Boy, especially this part of Texas. And I know y'all love Texas. I love Texas too, but this part of Texas is kind of like the armpit of the world. Yeah, you know? I mean, all of those plants and stuff out there. My wife and I went to Colorado, and you know, they way up in the mountains and stuff over there, and the air's a little thinner, and it's also a whole lot cleaner and nicer. And man, we had headaches and we felt real bad, you know. And when it took us a while, we got back to Texas to get all of the film and the junk back into our lungs. So look, you know, this is nowhere near heaven. So let that old boy. He's the same one that said, you know, if they don't have, what did he say about it? They don't have Jim Beam in heaven, so I ain't gonna go. Okay, all right. A whole lot. But anyway, I was talking about praying. I thank God for my salvation, for grace, mercy, and peace. I want to have peace in my life. Grace, look, grace is what allows me to get saved. Mercy is what allows me to stay saved. And the both of them together bring me peace in my life. And so he's got this, he's looking for peace. He wants to be peaceful. Right? I want to live in a place of peace. And I'm going to tell you this, a lot of times that's dependent on where it is I'm living. You know, we were talking about that yesterday. When we get out of here, you know, we may be going right back to a place that's set up for my demise. You know, set up for me to relapse again and all of that kind of stuff. We keep yelling about it. Sometimes it's an impossibility, but you need to stay away from old people, places, and things. You just do. You just do. You have to. You got to. You need to. Right? If I don't, or if I won't, we got the beds. You know, you can come back, and we'll love on you. We'll let you back in. State pays us for this. And then we're going to try to help you this time get it. Because if I want all of this stuff, which I should be wanting. And then the last thing down here is what? Security. That's kind of like, look, you can't really be at peace unless you're secure. Right? You know, if I want to be secure. You know, I went by a church this morning. I'm on the way to work. I get up early, so sometimes I drive around neighborhoods, and I thoroughly like doing that. I went by a church this morning, and as I went by, there was an apartment complex out there, big old apartment complex, and I said, that place needs to have a church right there. And then suddenly, there's this Baptist church right there. I said, well, great. You know, they have one right there. And the front of that church building, the doors, you know how they have church building, have the two double doors, got a big old security door over that, just all bars and everything. All the windows got bars and stuff on the church. Does it sound like that's a secure area? People breaking into the church to steal the stuff out the church. You know, that's not really, okay. Seeing something like that, I'm not going to start pricing homes in that neighborhood. Right? What do you do if the place you're going to is almost going to guarantee your relapse? What are you going to do? Go somewhere else. Yeah, avoid it. Go somewhere else. Look, and that's hard. That's not easy. I was talking to a guy not too long ago. You know, I have to go there. I have a place to sleep there. I have a place to eat there. I don't have a place, you know. But we need to get to the place where we're working toward getting somewhere else. So we're focusing on things. So he's focusing on the right things. We've got a thing today to help us do something like, to help us look at how to deal with this. I want to share a couple of things with you. We do know that we have a lot of different urges that happen to us. We have an urge to use. We have an urge to do this. We have an urge to go places. We have an urge to do things. Let me share something with us at both facilities. Now, our urges are not us. Get a hold of that. Our urges are not us. There are urges. There's desires that we have. The urges you feel aren't you. They're an impulse or a reaction. So there's something separate from you. These are not you. This urge that tells you you need to say something. We get that a lot, especially in treatment. He said something to me, so I got to say something back. That's an urge. That's not you. You don't have to respond in that way. Now, I'm going to note, I don't use this terminology a lot, but sometimes we just need to shut up. One of the bravest, smartest, most courageous things sometimes we can do is shut up and sit down. Right? That's like that old adage, they say, why did you get beat up so bad? And guy said, well, I thought he told me to shut up, and I saw he said stand up. And this is what happened. Yeah. So that's a urge. That urge is not me. And I'm responsible for dealing with those. For some, we need to personify urges can create a helpful boundary for us. To help something abstract like an urge feel more concrete and manageable, you can use the personify and disarm tool. That's what I gave you. To personify and disarm. That means I'm going to make that urge, I'm going to make that urge into a personified thing. It's going to have a name. It's going to have a personal thing. It's going to have a personality. It's going to have all of that stuff. That's what that urge is. And if I can get that urge to a place where it is solid like that, it has those attributes, then I can get it out of my life. And so that's what we will look at. They can look. These urges can feel intense and convincing. Like I said, worked in prison a long time. Some of those guys got into some real bad stuff. And when I talked to them, they told me, well, look, I don't want anybody to think I'm less than. I don't want anybody to think I'm a chicken. I don't want anybody to think they can run them. And all of those things are true, right? Those are true. But this isn't prison. And my life isn't prison. So those urges that I had to deal with in prison, I don't have to deal with them here.
No.
And you were just getting it too. You were just about to get it, David. I'm gonna tell you, man, you were just about had it. You were sharing well. And then she comes and does that. I see that. I see all that. Yeah. Look at that. Now she's defending herself. It's easy to come up with a good reason for bad behavior.
I'm telling them.
That's all right. Look. Today is her last day. So if she's your counselor, y'all just need to tell her, I never did get nothing from you. So no, don't do that. She's great. Yes, sir.
Daughter, I love your group. You need to take accountability for your actions. Because you interrupted the group this morning too.
Did I interrupt the group? When did I do that? So I just got called down for interrupting my own group.
That's yours. Good morning, chicken.
I don't see that's getting in my feelings. I don't you because this is your last day too. But I do look, and I do that a lot of the time when it's a small thing. Look, here you go. When it's a small thing, I'll make it a big thing, and I'll disrupt the group more. But I do that on purpose. If you expand it, people know it. When you expand it like that, I have people like Miss Cherie later on will tell me, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean and they'll watch things a little bit closer. So it's really not that big a deal, but I'll make it a bigger deal. So here's the deal. They're not you. They're temporary impulses. We need to, as a group and as a group of people at North and as a group of people going into recovery, we need to be able to take a look at those impulses and know that I have more than one choice in this. I'm full grown. I need to I have a choice. I can make this choice here that's going to make everything's going to be all right. Or I can make this choice here and things are going to escalate and go in another direction. They're temporary impulses. They're shaped by past habits, by some of the stress we may be under, or by some of the emotions that we refuse to control ourselves. One way to weaken their grip is to give them a name. Now listen, this sounds crazy, but it's true. and treat them like an outside force that's trying to manipulate you. But you hurt my feelings. Okay. It doesn't make any difference what I said. It doesn't make any difference what I did. That's not what upset you. What upset you? How you feel about it. You did it yourself. How you feel about that. So look, like we said earlier, if it don't matter, it don't matter. If it doesn't matter, doesn't matter. So if I'm not really worried about what you think of me, then what you say about me is not going to matter to me. Right. Right. All right. So we give them a name. We treat them like an outside force that's trying to manipulate us. That mental shift, that's a little bit, that mental shift is going to create enough distance to help you stop, think about it, and choose a different response. Right? What am I controlled by? Not me. I'm not controlled by my emotions. If I was, I'd be snotting all over you guys. Yes. I'm not controlled. The top of our brain is what? My intellect. And then our limbic system houses our emotions. And so when I allow my emotions to get over my intellect, what will I do? Anything I want to. I'll say stuff that I know is hurtful. I'll do things that I know is going to hurt the other person. And if I want to use, I will. Because I've let my emotions override my intellect. And we all know, I know, because I've taught it 19 times, we need to keep our intellect over our emotions. If you hurt my feelings, I still need to be smart enough to deal with those feelings intellectually. Yes, sir.
Oh, I've been thinking about this for a few days, actually. What do you think about those? Or well, they have programs too, but what about the people that say that you should go into a room and scream and beat on pillows and all that kind of stuff? That helps you all. Since we're talking about emotions and all.
Yeah. And I wish half the group wasn't leaving. But, yeah, what's that called?
Well, like
venting.
Yeah, anger therapy.
What's the best way, if you're mad at Darnell up here, what's the best way to vent that anger?
Say something.
Say something?
Yeah. Talk it over.
You think?
I would say silent treatment.
The silent treatment?
Me, I would pull Darnell to the side, respectfully away from everybody else, and address the
Pull him over to the side and respectfully address the fact that he's being a butthead and hurting people's feelings. And no. The best way, if you're mad at Darnell, the best way to vent that is to beat the living crap out of Darnell. When you do that, that's going to take all that stress, all of that stuff out. It's going to get it away. Here's the deal.
I thought we were a hands-free facility.
We are a hands-free facility. Yeah, look. Here's the deal. Venting is not something we teach in the anger management field anymore. We used to teach that. We don't teach that because venting just gets that out momentarily for a second. If I go into a room and do the primal scream, which is what we used to teach, we used to also get couples in and give them a little thing that wouldn't hurt them, a styrofoam thing, and they'd beat with noodles. You know, they beat each other with the noodles and all of that. What does that do? What you got?
I was passive.
Passive. Okay.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't teach them to deal with the issue.
It doesn't deal with the issue. It vents it. It gets it out for a minimal amount of time, but the issue's still there. As soon as I stop venting, I'm right back to the problem. And so when we talk about anger management, we say you got to get the fire out from under the teapot if you want to stop it from going off. So I got to figure out what the bottom thing is. What's the deal? And then I need to deal with the issue. And so venting is very passe, not something we do anymore. That mental shift, though, is enough that can create enough distance, and that's what I need to do, to pause, reflect, and choose a different response. If I pause, and if I take a second to reflect, and I choose a different response to what I've just had an opportunity to do, then Miss Cynthia is not going to have to write me up. And that write-up is not going to wind up in Dr. Garner's office. And Dr. Garner's not going to have to print that thing off and go down to Miss Arlene's office and explain why that's still going on. And meet with B later on to say, so, but if I can do those things, then I don't have to go through all of that. Then I need to take a look at, hey, okay, that guy stepped on my foot. Okay, nothing's broken, nothing's bruised. It's okay. It was a mistake. Or I can scream, yell, shove, push, and then all of this other stuff goes on, and it will go on. They pay Miss Cynthia to make sure it goes on. So it's time for break. We'll get back about 16 minutes after because y'all forced me to go over again. Y'all right?
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to share my homework with you.
I shared it with the whole I did something from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I turn it in? Did I turn it on? He took it, didn't he? Yes, turn it in. Okay. It's hot out there. You don't never know around here, though,
Hey. How's it going?
It's Friday.
Yeah, awesome.
Have a good day.
Nice speaking with you.
Bert, where's Bert? Bert. Hey. Nick, where you going, Nick? Oh, look at this trap. It's a good trap, Bert.
You know what I like for you to do? Best you can.
Okay.
You know, I do understand that. That's, you know, you're not the only one. I know you got perfect hands. So, you're gonna be all right.
All right. I didn't want to get rolled up.
Good. I've been working here now. September the 3rd. It'll be a year. I'm not reading anybody.
Right.
I don't. Yeah. You work with it.
That's what it is.
You know what it is?
I started laughing,
You know, I did too.
Do I have time?
I did too. Next month. Yeah. Anything else?
I talk about those stuff, help you too. We're going to be talking about
Well, good. I'm glad. These guys.
Hey, what do you think about all so,
That's good. That's a good attitude. If we're just going close. Never know what the river will take.
I mean, the 10 hours is stuff changes, like, it's still, it's pretty good, so many days out, so that's kind of,
Are you guys?
but I'm just saying, get some
Well, our boss shared it well. I don't know, the way it is now all split up. There's just no way to figure that out. Don't worry not. It's what clinician. Tell me something.
Yes, sir.
We were talking about you going to work.
IT.
IT.
But I'd like to get recertified. And some other ones, as far as something about the online stuff. So I'm going to get into that. Certified networking.
Oh,
Cybersecurity.
well,
That's kind of,
sorry. You can do that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's top of my list.
I'm excited about that.
What's it called?
Alice.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh, Coursera.
Coursera. Coursera. So it's a little different. Coursera. It's making you enjoy it.
The one Miss Rita said that she wanted me to let you know. For FaceTime, and she will have them for you Tuesday. And she has 2 other possible veterans for Tuesday.
Can I ask you? What do you mean?
Yeah, we can schedule you next week to go to the Success Closet. Sister Cottage. And or because he said we could, and so that's
All right, time to get started back. Here we are, we're back, and all of that kind of stuff. So I know the guys over at North are lined out. I can see that one lady was taking a nap earlier, cutting that out. We're going to continue looking at this. This is really good stuff. If we can get a hold of it and get it where it needs to be and let it work out in our lives, it's going to help us a whole lot. It helps us to do what we need to be doing, and that is to focus appropriately. Yes, please do sign it. Here's how we personify and disarm. This is what the tool does. This is how it helps you. It helps create emotional distance from urges. So there are urges that I have, and when we in recovery, when we talk about urges, the thing that naturally and normally comes to my mind is an urge to use, right? And that's part of it. There's, when we get out of here, there's going to be an urge to use. What's the one biggest thing that causes relapse?
Familiarity.
People, places, and things, all of that.
I'm not going to use profanity, but
thank you.
The case of the ethics.
Okay, ethic. Here's the deal.
No. The ethics, like ethics. I'm just going to use.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
Paying attention to yourself.
Paying attention to yourself. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, paying attention to your feelings, how you're feeling. That's really good. One of the things that we have found that causes more relapse, more going back to our old behaviors than anything else is freedom. See, this is one of the games this guy's looking for is freedom. But one of the things that happens to us is that when we get out of treatment, guess what? Yeah, and nobody's going with you. None of these folks in here, none of your counselors, the RAs, nobody's going with you. So you're going to be on your own. And if you go to group when you get out of here, which I think you should go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I've had so many people go bleh about that, but that just gives you a contact with someone else to help you. How long did it take you to get to a place where you can build a new habit?
16 days.
About 90 days. If you go about 90 days, that's why we say 90 meetings in 90 days. If you can do something for your recovery for 90 days, for 90 different meetings, that usually will make that become a habit in your life. That's why we want you to do it like that, because it becomes a habit in your life, right? So that's what we want you to do if you can do those kinds of things. But when we get out of here, we have freedom. Do I have to go? I'm not going to look. And when you get out of here, your counselor is going to call you up in about 60 to 90 days. It's not 30. It's 60 to 90 days. 2 to 3 months after you get out of here, somebody's going to call you. Say, you all right? And you come back. You're healthy. You're sober. You know, you're in a good place. What's going on? You know, we're going to do that in 60 or 90 days. But we're not going out with you. So you're going to have the opportunity to say, I'm not going to AA. I'm not going to those things. I'm going to do some other stuff. Say it again. Yeah. Yeah, you can come stay at my house. Look, I'm serious, man. I have a home office at my house. We'll turn that thing into a bedroom for you, and you come and you stay there. Now, just to cover my liability and stuff, I'm going to need $8,000 a month. Oh, but you're welcome. You know, as long as you can come up with $8,000 a month. And look, everybody can come for $8,000 a month. You know, we'll just move out.
You got to buy your own food.
Yeah, you got to buy your own food and stuff. Yeah, yes, sir.
You got to win 190 million to move in with you.
Yes, sir.
When you say you might be right out of the country.
Oh, got right.
Are you being a homeowner?
Uh-huh.
Oh, person can come up with $8,000. He can be a homeowner.
Oh, yeah.
Your yard. Just say it's a pothole or something in the backyard.
So I got all the legal ramifications being explained to me back there now. So here's the deal. This is what it does. When I personify it and disarm this tool, here's what it does. It creates that emotional distance from those urges. I know what that is. It's something that's trying to get me to get to a place where I don't want to go. So that's helping me, yeah.
I just want to say this here about the urges. It's best if you are aware and recognize your triggers.
Yeah. You understand that these urges are, and there are triggers that lead you to those urges and things. And if you know your own triggers, that's one thing that I want you to know in here. Let somebody tell me real quick, what are the universal relapse triggers? That means the triggers that are in everybody's life. What are they?
Women.
Women?
People.
What is it?
People.
People? Anybody else? Trauma.
Boredom.
What? Boredom.
Get upset.
Getting upset, your emotions, anger. All of those things will probably do that, but you know, it's questions like that that make me want to go drive a truck. Because we teach the universal relapse triggers in here almost every day. Every day, we tell you about the universal trigger. We say, these are universal triggers. And then we say, what's the universal trigger? Cats. Cats are universal trigger. If a cat run down, everybody gonna use it.
You taught it yesterday, not accepting personal responsibility.
Not accepting personal responsibility. Okay. That's true, but that's not the universal truth. All right, so here's the deal. If I personify this stuff, it helps me to disarm this stuff, and it helps me to respond to urges with clarity and confidence. I know who you are. You're Fred. You are that urge to have to say something. I had a guy this morning driving down the road in a pickup truck, and he's doing pretty slow. So I went beside him on this side and went to the right. I'm going on down the highway. And then he sped up and went beyond me. I said, okay, he might have been asleep or, And then he slowed back down and, back and forth and back and forth. And he did that like 900 times and just getting aggravated and getting in front of, And I said, what I'd like to do is just run him off the road and then explain to him how to drive the stupid truck his mama got. But you're not going to do those kinds of things because I'm going to look at that urge to have to say something in my life is something that I have to know that can come up at any time. When somebody says something to me in here, do I get an urge to say something? I get an urge to respond to that? Do I get an urge to get in somebody's face? Absolutely. We're all human beings, and on this side at South Point, we're all guys. And so, we all get those urges, but instead of responding to that urge in the way that I want to, I don't. Because I know that urge is manipulating me and just trying to get me to get to that place where I don't want to be. And I'm confident in that. I know that. Hey, you know what I've seen is I've had guys get in my face and tell me a thing or two, and I say, I know, okay, that's all right, I know you. He says, you don't know me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been dealing with people like you for 300 all of these years. So, I know how to step back and let that go. So I have confidence in that. It reduces the power of self-sabotaging thoughts. Think about that. I have to. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's one of the biggest things that we do that eats us alive. I have to. No, you don't. You don't have to say something back. You don't have to bow up. If somebody bows up at you, you don't have to bow up at them. If somebody's disrespectful to you, what's that mean? You don't have to respond in disrespect. But what does that mean? If you want to look at it really on the raw end, that puts that person down here some. I'm a better man for being able to respond to it with kindness. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, self-control. I don't have to do that. I'm controlled by the Holy Spirit, not by myself. So I don't have to. I don't have to do that. Those people who have to respond to that, they don't have their own emotions under control. They're still way down. They have a long way to come up. And we need to understand that. And, we need to understand that person who is disrespecting me, when you're disrespecting me, guess what you're doing? You're disrespecting yourself more than you're disrespecting me, and I know that. And if I stand back, and just let you do that, everybody else sees that as well. Everybody sees it. Everybody sees that. You throw a fit, everybody knows how far the fit went. You don't do that stuff in secret. You can't put your glasses on upside down. They don't work. So it reduces the power of those. So we can stay grounded in our goals instead of getting swept up in a craving or an urge to do something that's going to mess with my recovery. What's the biggest problem with doing something that's going to mess with my recovery? That's a pet peeve of mine.
Potential relapse.
Yeah, you may relapse. And look, that's your own issue. If you allow yourself to allow your emotion, to allow your feelings, to allow whatever your circumstances are to lead you back to relapse, that's on you, right? Think about that. But you know what else it might do? If you're in a group like this one, if you're in a group like over at North, and you have all of those things, it may not only lead you to relapse, it may lead somebody else to relapse, and that's unacceptable. You know, it's really unacceptable for me to lead myself to relapse, right? It's unacceptable. But if I lead somebody else to go with me in that relapse, that's unacceptable. So those are the things that's not good. So the tool works especially well for urges that show up with a strong internal voice, like the ones that say, you deserve it. Y'all get that one? I get that one sometimes. I want a cookie. You know, this is my 4th day without something sweet. And that little voice comes up and says, hey, you ain't had nothing. This should be a sweet day for you. Besides that, you deserve it. You've been good for 4 days. You know what? You deserve it. It's a good thing. You can do that. It's going to be all right. Or one of the big ones, just one more won't hurt.
One last time.
One last time. This is the last time I'm ever going to do it. Y'all ever said that to yourself?
Yeah.
I've said that probably 100,000 times.
I don't know.
And this is the last. Look, I ain't going to eat no more moon pies. Or honey bun. I ain't glazed honey bun. Honey bun with nothing but sugar on top of the honey bun. I ain't ever going to eat another honey bun. I'm going to finish this one. And you know, if you ever eat, I ate a honey bun not too many longs ago. Have you ever eaten one of those glazed honey buns? They're not good. They don't taste good. But they're this stinking long, that thick, and full of sugar. You know? So you take a bite of it, it don't taste good. It's kind of bitter because it's full of all kind of other chemicals and stuff that Mr. Kennedy's trying to get out of our lives. But you continue to eat the thing until it's completely gone because it's sugar. So when you end it, when you finish it, I ain't never going to do that again.
No, they're delicious.
Say it again?
They're delicious.
Yeah, it's an addiction, yeah.
You can put peanut butter on it. But you already know that stuff's gonna kill you.
Yeah, you do. You know it's going to... Put some peanut butter on it. You know. You put some peanut butter on it and you can tell yourself, well, it's healthy now. Those things there are made from peanuts, and peanuts are good for you. See, there's always a good excuse for bad behavior, right? I'm going to eat this, but I'm going to put some peanut butter on it and it'll be healthy. Okay. That's good stuff. Look, here's the deal. This is what we need to do. We don't have to believe the inner voice. Why do I deserve this? Think about what it's saying to me. If it's talking to me about the sugar and stuff, why do I deserve that? It's going to kill me. It's going to make my sugar go through the stinking roof, and I'm going to die from it. I'm going to go blind. My eyesight is about 1/10 of what it was when this stuff started. I'm starting to have problems with one foot. You know, we had a fella here not too long ago. You know, and I miss him. Ain't nobody rolling around in here anymore. Yeah, you know, and he lost his leg to diabetes. You know, fine fella, and his leg is gone. You know, to all of that kind of stuff. So I know it's killing me. So it says, you know, that little thought in my mind, you deserve it. I don't deserve that, right? Even if I'm doing it as a reward, I don't deserve that. If I'm going to have a reward, what I'm going to have, I need a piece of chicken for my reward. Or something else.
Carrots.
Yeah, carrots. My wife buys me those little short carrots. They're good. I eat those all the time. I eat pickles. Anything pickled is good for a diabetic. So I do that. You don't have to believe that voice, and you can talk back. We do a look. We talk about self-talk all the time. This is negative self-talk over here that is talking to us. We need to talk back with positive self-talk. No, I don't need that. I don't crave sugar. I'm not addicted to sugar. That's not me. I don't need sugar. I told you about the terrible thing. I've been to a whole bunch of dollar stores. That's the only dollar store I've ever been in that still sells stuff for $1. Surprised the heck out of me. I go to the dollar store around my house and stuff in there for $8.
Ain't nothing for $1.
There ain't nothing for $1 in that store.
So
Pizza. Yeah, piece of bubble gum. $2. Yeah. That's not true, but y'all get
That's true though.
everything. Yeah, everything on soda and all that stuff is way too high. That one over there is still, it's not $1, but it's $1.25, and you can get a whole box of moon pies. Yeah, I told you about a whole box of Nutty Butters for $1.25. Yeah, and they're smaller, and there's not, but they're still. And that's just cheap. And so, that hurt me a whole lot too. But you can talk back. Here's how you use that. You have a worksheet, and I want to walk y'all through the worksheet, and then we'll be done. But you have a worksheet to guide yourself through the steps. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Because if you don't get it perfect, we're going to write you up. That's not true. Just don't worry about it. The goal is to practice responding to these urges with more intention. I want it to be, we're going to look at that urge, whatever that urge is. And right now, we're at a place right now where we should be okay with the urges to use. Because we're in here, that urge is still there, but we should be able to deal with that, right, while we're in here. We still have a lot of urges. We have urges to complain. We have urges to blame. We have urges to do all these other things that come from that victim stance. We have an urge whenever something doesn't go my way. I have an urge to go completely ignorant over it, right? I want to say something about it. I feel like I got to do something about it. Those are the urges I want to stop. We need to end them. So first thing I'm going to do is name that urge. I want to name it. What do you name it? Think of an urge you've experienced recently. If that urge had a personality, what would that urge be like? Give it a name that helps you recognize the urge without judgment. Yes, sir?
Are you referring to drug-related urges?
No, any kind of urge. It's not drug. In here, the biggest urge I'm seeing right now is to express my feelings to you. Not me, but us. Expressing our negative feelings to one another. That's why people are getting written up. I want to express my negative feelings to you. I want to show you how I feel about what you just said. I want to show you how much I disrespect that rule or that regulation or these chairs or this building or that color paint or that goofy picture. I want to show you how much I disrespect that. And so I'm going to have to do something to show you that. No, I don't. Or I'm going to have to say something. I don't like you, so I'm going to have to say something to let you know that. No, you don't.
But don't that go both ways for the antagonist and the protagonist?
It does. But here, I want you to understand this too. We just said it a whole bunch of times. There's always a good excuse for bad behavior. I don't care what he did. That doesn't excuse your behavior. Get it? I don't care what somebody else did. I don't care what somebody else said. That does not excuse your bad behavior. That does not excuse your poor behavior. It's a full-grown man thing, full-grown woman thing to be able to say, okay, and walk off. Let them be who they are, and you be who you are. Because your bad behavior is going to get addressed. My bad behavior will be addressed. And when I go up there and my boss is saying, why didn't, and I tell them, well, he said this. Okay, so that doesn't matter. It's what you did in response that matters. So I can't do anything with his bad behavior. All I can do is mine. All I can do is take care of me.
Disrespect is still disrespect.
You're right.
If I feel uncomfortable with the person's comment or response or anything that I didn't agitate, and a person just said that to me, my natural response is to defend myself.
And this is exactly right. And that's why we're trying to do the training that you're not listening to. Here's the deal. It is your natural response to defend yourself. If somebody says something, do I have to necessarily defend myself every time just because somebody said something? You get on me, and we'll see how quickly you can get off. But you can say anything you want to. And I'm not going to get crazy. I'm not going to try to fight you. I'm not going to try to have an altercation. I'm not going to, because of that, you can say anything you want to. That's your business. I'm not going to get, I'm not going to get offended. And my bad behavior, if somebody else has some bad behavior, it does not excuse my bad behavior in return. If that's the only way I can respond to that, I'm going to have to leave this place. Because we're not put up with that. You think we're going to put up with that? Not 5 seconds, not 5 minutes. We're not putting up with that. We're not going to be able to do that. So we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to use some tools. We're going to have to get to a place where we use some tools. Because these are not the only tools that God gave us. If you can't get to a place where you can use those tools, you're going to have to take that ignorance somewhere else. We're not going to do that. So just to understand that. Yeah, because I'm going to do my level best as a full-grown individual, male or female, not to say anything or do anything that's going to hurt your feelings. That's the farthest thing from my mind. I really don't want to do that. And I think everybody ought to be that way, right? I don't need somebody coming up and saying something derogatory or nasty to me. I don't need that, right? But if they do, I'm going to let them live in their own slime. I'm not going to get in the slime with them. And I should be, as an adult person, I should be able to do that. No, we're not. We're going to go on with this. Right. Thank you. We're going to do the study. And if you can't do this, you can't. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But then we need to talk one-on-one, because we're either going to be able to do something different with this stuff, or we're not going to do it at all. So here's the deal. You need to understand it. You need to take a look. Give it a name that helps recognize it without judging it. Without judging it. The smooth talker. Think about that. Your feelings, that urge as a smooth talker. What would that sound like? You deserve it. This would be a good thing for you. You cannot let them, the whiner. That thing comes up as a whiner. You don't deserve this. Things should be better. They should listen to you and let you teach the group. They should do this. They didn't answer your question on that. That's the whiner, the hurt child. I see that a lot. They don't have any business saying that kind of stuff to me. They shouldn't be able to do that. I'm here for treatment, not be yelled at. All of that. So, that's the hurt child. The negotiator. Look, if you'll do that, then I'll do this. You'll have the negotiator. If you'll tell them something, I'll talk to God about it. Yeah, I'll talk to God. Look, if you'll kill that person, I'll go to church more often. Yeah, I've seen that. Or the saboteur. I don't like what they did, so I'm going to tell somebody else. What did Miss Cherie say a while ago? when I got her at the door, what'd she say? Y'all remember?
I didn't make the appointment.
Yeah, she said I didn't, but she also said I'm gonna tell on you. Y'all, so she gonna go down the hall, tell Miss Rebecca what I did, or tell somebody. So that was funny. Here's the deal. Step 2. We need to identify whatever this urge is telling us. We need to identify it. We need to know what this urge is trying to get us to do. So he says things, what does your urge try to convince you of? What's it trying to convince you of? Write down a few examples. Think about some of these things. Here's some of the scripts that it uses. One of the examples is, you've earned this. Right? You've earned a nice cold beer. You cut 2 yards out there today. You've earned that. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. You've earned the right to say whatever you want to say to that other. No, you haven't. You don't have the right to hurt anybody's feelings. You don't have the right to blow back when somebody else comes up against you. You don't have that right. You don't have that right. We don't. If I have to, see, that's when we react. We need to take a step back and be willing to respond to what somebody else said. One of the things I was taught in college when I was going for my counseling stuff was to let everybody know that I understand that you have the right to feel any way you want to feel. Any way you want to feel. So when somebody says something that you don't agree with, we need to understand they have the right to feel any way they want to feel. That's not your business. You can't do that. Now, if they're directing it at you, is that your business? Of course it is. Of course it is. I don't want somebody directing nasty negativity at me all the time. Now, everybody has a right to have a bad day. But when somebody in the group or some other staff or anybody, if they continue to do that over and over and over and over, at some point things have to change. They do. But I'm not going to let some offhanded remark that somebody says eat me up every day. Here's a big one that gets us in recovery. This is too hard. This is too hard. I had somebody tell me that the other day. They didn't tell me that. They told somebody else that, and then they told me. This is too hard. You can't do this. This is too hard. Is recovery hard?
Yeah.
It can be really, really, really hard. Is living in my addiction, is that hard? It really is. It really is. I look, I was in my addiction for many years, and I've been in my recovery for quite a few years. And both of them had their hardness, but I'll tell you what, being in recovery is not nearly as hard as being in my addiction. That was 30 times harder. I mean, living under a house, wondering what you're going to eat next time, that's hard. That's hard. Finding somebody to borrow a few dollars off of, and when you get that few dollars after you told them I'm going to go get me a hamburger or something, I'm starving to death, you wind up at the liquor store and you spend that few bucks. Well, I heard a deal not too long ago. I don't know who was saying it, but they said, sometimes it can be a good thing to give somebody on the side of the road a few dollars. Think that's true? I don't do it. I don't do it personally because I've been there and I've done that. And when I got that few dollars, I know where that went. It did not go to the Waffle House. It went to the other house. So this is too hard. You can't do it. That's not true. What can you do? What does a man or a woman get out of life? That's a question. What is it? What does a man, what does a person get out of life?
A lot of things. Satisfaction, relationships.
We get out of life exactly what we want to.
Yeah.
I get what I want. Because what I want is I'm willing to work for. I'm willing to go do what I need to do to get what I need to get. Right? So one of the other ones that your urge might use is something like everyone else is doing it. Ever heard that? Everybody does it. There's not anybody that's going to let somebody say that stuff to them. There's not anybody. Everybody's drinking a little bit. Everybody's smoking marijuana. It's just a child's drug anyway. Everybody's doing it. That's not true, is it? It's not true. So, and here's another big one. What if you go out and you do something that's not correct? You have that urge come in, and it gets you to that place where you have that one cookie, or you have that one drink, or you say that one thing that you know that's hurt somebody else's feeling. Then your urge is going to come to you and say, you've already messed up. You've already messed up. Why stop now? And I get that all the time. I told you all about the box of cookies, the Nilla wafers. Bought a box of Nilla wafers over at that store. It's not really the real vanilla wafers. You know, it's some kind of off-brand vanilla wafer. They don't even they taste a little bit like vanilla wafers, but they're not. And but they're $1.25 a box, and it's a big box, and there's a whole bunch of them. And I ate one of them because I told myself, you deserve one stinking vanilla wafer, right? Man, it's just one vanilla wafer. How many of those you think I ate before I got to my house?
15.
A whole box. Every stinking one of them. And then I took my finger and I licked my finger and I ran it along the bottom of the bag. There's crumbs down there. And I got every one of those little crumbs out of there. There wasn't anything left. So, you know, and I was telling myself that, well, I just, you know, this is all I'm going to eat. Not going to eat anything else when I get home. So what happens when you get home? Eat something. Yeah, there's going to be some. Make some popcorn. Popcorn bad for you?
No.
No, it's one of the best things you can eat as a diabetic, but it's still made from corn, and corn is what? It's got a lot of carbohydrates in it, and it'll make your sugar go up. And my endocrinologist said it's fine for you to eat popcorn, but you need to get you one of them little bitty bowls like that and eat popcorn out. I did that. I got me a little bitty bowl and I ate that bowl. My wife's sitting over here with a big bowl. So I take my little bowl and so after 5 or 6 times, you know, she's looking at me and saying, "Won't you get you your own big bowl?" I said, "Look, no, honey. Doctor told me just to eat little bowl." And my wife, you know, she ain't all that smart. She said a silly thing like, "Well, she only meant for you to eat one." That's all I'm doing is eating one at a time. Come on, you know. So look, you've already messed up. So why start now? Why stop now? You've already said something that hurt somebody's feelings. So just keep talking. So what does anger do? Anger builds anger. You know, if I'm angry at you and I come up to you, what are you going to do? First off, you're going to get scared. That's the first emotion that we respond in is fear. But then right after that, what happens? That secondary emotion takes over and you're angry too. And now you respond to me in anger and I respond back to you again in anger and anger. And I'm going to punch you in your nose. That's what it has. And so when I put my hands on somebody, what happens? Somebody going to come out here and put some metal bracelets on your butt and take you to the hoosegow. That's going to happen. So, you know, that's why I don't want to do that stuff. All of this is about the best for me. Sometimes when people say, "Hey, this is the best thing for you," it don't look like that. You know, when I was in the middle of my addiction, I thought the best for me was getting another bottle, but it wasn't. And there were people who were willing to help me who said, "Look, this isn't the best for you." And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you don't know what's best for me. Look, I have to hold my own persona up. I have to be who I have built myself up to be. No, because, you know, sometimes the person I have built myself up to be is not all that great a person. I might need to be, adult enough to be able to change my whole personality. I need to be somebody different sometime. If this isn't the best me, y'all know what's the Army say now? Be all you can. You know, when I went in there, what the Army used to say was, "Hey, stupid, get moving." You know, it was a little different. You know. I'll see now that if you're watching Facebook, the Army comes on there every 15 minutes now because they need some people. This is what the Army's really like. Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah. But yeah. No, it's not. All right, so here's the deal. We all use self-talk. We all talk to ourselves all the time. We do. And it's not because we have schizophrenia. Some of us do. But that's not why. We talk to ourselves all the time because our minds are always moving. Our minds are never shut off. So usually it's easier for us to use negative self-talk. But we need to start using positive self-talk. And when we get to dealing with these urges, they're talking to us, but we need to be talking back to them. So when that urge comes to me and says, you need another cookie, just the one cookie, they're cheap. You can pick them up. Linda won't know. That's my wife. She won't know because you've got $1.25 in change. She ain't never gonna know you bought those cookies. And so here's the deal. We can tell the thing when it comes and says, you've earned this, and you say, you're lying to me and I'm not listening to you. We need to be talking back to it. Now look, okay. First off, I don't think I've earned anything. I certainly haven't earned a miserable death in the hospital because all my legs have been cut off and my arms been cut off and I'm blind. And, I certainly haven't earned that. And so you're lying to me and I am not listening to you. And then it says, look, this is too hard. You can't do it. Now, you know what? I hear you. But I'm not giving you the mic today. I've had people raise their hand in group, and I not call on them. And I do that sometimes on purpose. Why is that? Why would I do that on purpose? Isn't that mean? Is that disrespectful? Does that mean I don't want to hear what you have to say? What does that mean?
But maintain the flow.
What is it?
Maintain the flow.
Maintaining the floor. I do have the obligation to maintain the floor as the facilitator of the group, but I'm also.
I said the flow.
The flow, maintaining the flow, but that both of them work. Oh. Maintaining the flow, because here's the deal: as I'm teaching, it's amazing to me sometimes. I'm right in the middle of a sentence teaching what I've got, and somebody, what? I haven't. What? And sometimes I do it to help you specifically deal with your feeling. How does it feel when you raise your hand? And I've done that with 3 or 4 people. When you raise your hand, I ignore you. How does that make you feel? That hurts your feeling a little bit, right? That makes you feel a little bit less than. A little bit. So that gives you the opportunity to practice not responding. Sometimes I don't have to respond. Sometimes I don't need to. So sometimes I can tell this desire with him, well, that stupid guy, he wouldn't, what? He thinks what? I'm going to let you wait till this, boy. We don't have to. Okay, it shouldn't. Maintaining the flow. I'm not giving you the mic today. We have in our church a mic that we, at business meeting, a guy bought the mic so that we could hand them out. They're wireless mics. So if somebody on the floor has something to say, we can give them the mic. Well, there's a couple of those elderly ladies that had a few things they wanted to say, and the fella handed them the mic, and the batteries were dead, and they thought they were okay. So sometimes we'll just take the mic, the batteries out of the mic. So here's the deal. Everyone else is doing it. Okay, that's what your urge is telling you. One of the best things we can tell it is you're not in charge of this thing. I am. You're not in charge of my life. I am. You can't tell me I have to do something. Look, urge. You can't tell me I have to tell him anything. You can't tell me that I'll be less than if I don't respond to that. You can't tell me that. Because my emotion, my desire, my urge is not in charge of whether or not I do this. My intellect is. I'm the boss, dude. I've already messed up. So why stop now? Because you're not worth trading my goals for. You're not worth just getting. Why do I have to say something? To maintain my own self-respect? To make me feel bigger, better? To make me feel like I'm doing something that nobody else, make me feel like I'm in charge and all of that kind of stuff? I need to get to the place where I realize I'm not. Right? And it's okay for me not to be in charge. I'm not in charge of what you think. I'm not in charge of your emotions. I'm not in charge of your future. I'm not in charge of your recovery. I'm just not in charge, right? That's true. Who is in charge? You are. So that means you personally have to act like it. So you're not worth me doing that. When you say it out loud, you can write it down, repeat it internally. When the urge shows up, it's going to help you do it. Now here, some people are going to try to make you do some stuff you don't want to do. You reject that pressure. Somebody else is pressuring you to engage in a behavior you're trying to avoid. Do this. We're almost out of time. I could get it done if I'd quit talking, right? Make eye contact, show them that you're serious. Look them in the eye. That's one of the things I learned in karate class was look at that person in the eye. You will always be able to tell when that person's going to move on you if you watch their eyes. So, speak in a firm, calm, confident voice. Don't feel guilty. You have the right to choose. When somebody comes up and tells me we're going to do something, I can look them right now and say, no, we're not. That's not what we're going to do. Well, why not? Because I don't want to. Well, what gives you the... Because I'm in charge of this. Totally in charge of this. So don't feel guilty. After saying no, change the subject. Leave it alone. I've had people come and tell me stuff, and then come and tell me stuff, and come and tell me the same stuff. Okay, I got it the first 9 times. Shut up. I don't need it anymore. Don't keep defending your choice. Stop. Whether the pressure is internal or external, you get to decide how to respond. All right. Questions, comments, snide remarks. All right, look, I appreciate y'all. I know some of y'all didn't appreciate what I had to say. Look, you get real quiet and you got this look on your face you don't think people know. Look like a gargoyle or something. I know you didn't like it. But thank you for the group. Thank you for the guys over at North. I appreciate y'all. Did a good job, I'm sure. Put my